everybody. Welcome to another episode of Capital Spotlight. Today we have a weird one for you. I'm actually the one being interviewed by Nick on our team. We figured we'd give you a little bit of information about like what Connect is, how we got here, and the story behind it. So if you're seeing this, it's probably because someone said that we couldn't air their podcast this week, and so this is what we're doing.
Yes, it's the perfect backup option, but hello everyone. Hi, my name is Nick. I've been with Connect for about over a year now. I am the Senior Digital Media Associate, so I'm usually the one behind the scenes, recording and editing and publishing the podcast, but today here I am in front of the camera. I think it was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, Nick is our podcast guy, so if you like the podcast, please thank Nick. He puts in a lot of work.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, if you're listening or watching. Yeah. All right, David. So, this whole episode is the Connect story, and we want to get to know you in relation to Connect, but also who you are outside of the company. So let's get right into it. So starting at the beginning of Connect, what was the idea for Connect that hit you? Where did you get that idea, and where did it all start?
Yeah, I'll kind of take it a step back just because there's different parts of it starting and to where I actually had the idea, but I was living in Pittsburgh after school, went to Pitt, graduated from there, was working at a app-based laundry service at the time. So got to see like how you build new technology, which was kind of fun, but overall, not my favorite job, but got the job done. But I was living on campus still or near campus. And so I was doing the typical like college kid things, not really growing up at all, drinking too much, all that. And just kind of had this realization that I didn't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore and needed to kind of change my lifestyle. And one day it was something I was praying about, and I just felt like I was supposed to move to DC. And so that was that step. I'd always said like I'd never move to DC. My mom always told me like, oh, you should move to DC. And so I was like, no, not a chance. And one day I realized, okay, this is actually what I'm supposed to do. So quit my job working at the laundry chute and moved out to DC, found an internship on the Hill, and went from like a good salary out of school to making $800 a month. And so luckily Pittsburgh is a lot cheaper to live in. So I was able to save up some money to kind of finance my new very poor life. But it kind of instilled in me this mindset of like, I gotta live like I'm broke. And that definitely comes back later and helped me save the money to build the business. But moved out to DC and kind of just at that initial moment realized I felt like I was supposed to create a business and didn't know what that was, but just had this stirring in my stomach that I felt called to, that I was supposed to be an entrepreneur, but just had no idea what it was. And so in the meantime, I was on the Hill utilizing the skills I had, but there was this like sick feeling in my stomach, and it wasn't that like stress, anxiety feeling that's in your chest and that tightness, but like in my stomach of just like this, something's wrong. Like I'm supposed to be building a business, but I'm not doing it yet. So for the next 2 years, I kept my eyes open, just looking for opportunities, came up with a lot of ideas that didn't work or just didn't satisfy me, didn't seem interesting. And then I decided, silly enough, I'm sure other staffers have done this too, but I was working on the Hill, and at this point I was a digital director, been there for a while, and was able to get like an upgrade on salary. So I just started saving money, kept acting like I was broke, and I'd made a pact with myself because I was in a very negative mindset and wasn't enjoying DC too much, that if my party lost all forms of government, that I was going to move back home. And so that happens. It's January. I'm working the inauguration as a volunteer. Got to be right on stage. It was sick. But in that moment, I just felt like the Holy Spirit telling me that I'm not supposed to move home. I'm supposed to be in DC. So I kind of changed my plans, and I'm like, all right, I got to change my mindset. I got to be more positive about this and like enjoy the city for what it is. And then about 2 weeks later, I finally had the idea for Connect. And so it was this like stirring of, I need to do this. I need to do this. And finally I was in my bed one night, just like couldn't fall asleep. Mind was racing. And I was just thinking about all these ideas about the Hill and like how decentralized it was and like how we could fix it. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm just going to get up, write down everything that's in my mind. And that ended up being the initial idea for Connect. And so it's kind of how it all started. But It was, and then after I like decided, okay, Connect is it, that stirring in my stomach went away. Like I couldn't even watch Shark Tank. It was the middle of COVID and I was so bored. And so I'd just be watching Shark Tank and I would get so sick to my stomach of like, these people are building businesses and I'm not, like, I'm supposed to be doing that. And it was overwhelming and it became more and more overwhelming until I came up with the idea, and then that just went away and never felt it again. And so that's how I kind of knew. There's a lot of other confirmation, but that's how I knew, like, this is the one I want to pursue.
Right, and it's like that just instinct inside you is like, it feels satisfied. So obviously it means you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing,
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
really cool. So obviously Connect is all about the staffer experience and enhancing that and building off of it. So rewinding a bit, tell us a little bit about your staffer experience specifically. Like, what was that like for you? You mentioned some negatives. You kind of had like a negative mindset, but elaborate a little bit. Like, what did you like about it?
Yeah.
What are some memories?
I think like the negative stuff was more focused on politics of just like being in a negative mindset, like constantly messaging against something and not really trying to find the good in things. And so that kind of got myself stirred up in that. But overall, I really enjoyed my experience as a staffer because it's this like close-knit community that's only the Hill is like the Hill. It's its own little world. And so working in Congress, walking through the halls of the Capitol every day was just the best. And I still miss that. But it really just came down to, I really liked the networking experience and meeting new people and having coffees and being curious, but there was no like centralization to that process. And so like my friends would show me how they would use Excel sheets to track coffees, and like that needs to be different, or you have to be on certain listservs to see these type of events or hear about a job. And so I just wanted to centralize a lot of that process. The other side of it was I moved to DC, didn't know anybody. I get in contact with the person that hosts the University of Pittsburgh alumni group, and he's telling me how that's our second biggest alumni network outside of Pittsburgh. And I joined the group and there's 8 people in it. And so I'm like, how do I find people that are like me? And so that's kind of, if you ever go on your profile and connect and like tap any of the different like profile attributes of where you're from or where you went to college, like I wanted to build something out where you could just very easily click and say, all right, like here's everyone that's from Pennsylvania, here's everyone that went to Pitt, and just very instantly find those people that you're going to have that in common with. And as we move forward, I want to figure out how to do more with that, because I just want to make that like transition process of coming to a new city and feeling like you have community a lot easier.
Yeah, especially, we've said this on the podcast like several times, but DC is such a transient city, and like the people that you get to know when you first move out, they probably won't be the same people that are here a year later or 2 years even. So yeah, it's important to have Connect as a resource, and hopefully we are able to do that for people. So also another pivotal moment in the creation of Connect was the 2021 presidential inauguration. I know the inside scoop, but you had a conversation with someone across the aisle.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, and that you credit this person specifically as like really driving you to create Connect. So can you expand on that story?
Yeah, his name's Matt Bonacorsi. Thank you for reminding me of this story. Shout out, Matt. So before the inauguration, January 18th, we had to do like an 8-hour prep day of just like rehearsals, and it's cold, you're standing outside. There were bomb threats, so we had to like run inside. National Guards right after January 6th too, so just a mess on the Hill. But I'm on stage standing next to this kid, and like I hear he's a Democrat. I was a Republican, am a Republican, whatever. Like, I'm sorry if I break anyone's heart there, but I was like, I'm going to stand next to this kid for 8 hours. I might as well get to know him. And both our bosses were on the rules committee. So I'm like, all right, Jim McGovern was his boss. I'm like, I love Jim. I love watching my boss at the time and Jim spar in rules committee. I just felt like that was the essence of Congress. And so I was like, okay, we're both on rules. Let's start there. And then it turns into, all right, we're crapping on our party. Like, what do we not like about ourselves? Like, what are we doing wrong? And just had a really good conversation and got to know each other as friends, and like still friends to this day. And it's because I just made the conscious decision of like, I'm going to get to know the person next to me. Who cares if they may think somewhat differently than me? And the thing about Matt is come from different backgrounds, get to know each other's backgrounds, and you start to develop this respect of why he thinks that way, why I think the way I think. And it really helps you develop that empathy of like, okay, like we have a ton in common. We actually come to a lot of the same conclusions. We just get there differently. And so that was kind of that aha moment of, I'm not being as open with the other side as I could be. And like, these people are the exact same. We just have a little bit of different political differences. And I decided to like stop letting that be a barrier to relationships. And so that was a really fruitful start to that, and kind of opened up my mind to, all right, these people are cool, like everything's fine. Like we're different political beliefs, who cares? And really opened up my mind to appreciate having those different types of relationships.
We have this background on your time as a staffer, but when you had the idea for Connect, you wrote it all down that one night. What did the first steps look like in actually starting this business?
Yeah, we were having a conversation recently. I think it was Robert Ordway, but we were talking about the Library of Congress and like being a staffer and getting access to the actual library floor and being in that scene of National Treasure where they're in the Library of Congress, and like being able to just sit down there at one of the desks. And I would go there a lot on like Saturdays and just like try to feel inspired there and come up with ideas. And so that's actually where I first wrote down the business plan of Connect, of like, here's the vision of what I want to do. So that was kind of the first step. After that, I pitched it to my old boss of the laundry chute, of like the only person I really knew who's in business, and just kind of gave a rundown of like, hey, here's everything I'm trying to do with this. It was really thought out, and he kind of just validated that of like, okay, you're actually onto something here. Like, I'm not just trying to be nice to you. Like, you've put a lot of work and you really care about this. You should pursue it. So after that, it was like a long process, but like some of those steps were designing the app, getting the money to build the app, getting the app built with developers, which was a very frustrating process. But so I had the initial idea at the end of January 2021. I launched the business March of 2022. So it was like 14 months of in between, still working on the hill, using nights and weekends to kind of build out this vision. But luckily I had a design background. Working at the laundry chute, I'd realized like how you design an app, and like there's wireframes, and then there's mock-ups, and then there's demos. So like I kind of understood that process, so I could at least with a design background start and go, okay, this is how I'm going to build it out. This is the vision. So I bought a notebook on Amazon and just started like drawing out every single screen in the app. And from there, then I developed mock-ups of just like what I wanted the app to look like and all the features built out. And then I went to developers and tried to show them the vision and get quotes. And it was extremely expensive. And so it took a while to find the right people. And luckily, I was able to kind of save up some money during that time. Went into a ton of credit card debt too, but it's all paid off now. Took almost 3 years, but and tanked my credit. So if you ever want to be an entrepreneur, just kiss your credit goodbye. Anyways, we're still alive today. Everything's okay. But yeah, so was able to finally find the right developers, and so I was having calls. They were in India, and so I was having calls at midnight. On work nights, like going through the plans, and that was a rough few months, but it was a very fun time too, and I'll never forget it. But yeah, it was like a lot of different steps, but the development process was definitely like the most time consuming, and just building out the vision.
Yeah, and I know we'll get to like the personal side of things later, like what you're into outside of work, but my mind goes to like, where did you find time during all of this to just be a human and like engage with your interests? Was there any time for that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It was COVID. It was 2021, so we were a little bit out of it, but not really. No, things were still shut down for the most part. So social opportunities were few and far between. I had a small group of friends that were my people and would definitely find time to hang out with them on like Friday nights or something. But like I said, Saturdays, I was usually at the Library of Congress, just kind of grinding, figuring out like the vision for it, and then using nights during the week. I definitely made the decision of like, I'm willing to sacrifice my social life and that to get this thing built. And now like the first 2 years, I really had to do that as well. Like once Connect launched, but now I'm like, my wife is a proponent of this, but like trying to force me back into like a work-life balance now.
Right.
But early on, I think like I was so obsessed with the idea that nothing else mattered. Like I just wanted to build this. And so it didn't really bother me too much. And I had fun doing it. It was an opportunity to be creative. So, and I had that good set of friends that still were around and we hung out, but I was willing to say, all right, I'm going to skip going out. Like I'm just going to design or something like that.
I don't know if my timeline is right of like your life in my head, but did you meet your wife like during all of this, and how did the like relationship operate when you were so dedicated to building this out?
Yeah, I met my wife at August 2021. So I had already started to build out Connect, had designed the app. We were now starting to develop it, and we met. And so we knew it was serious very, very quickly. And so we started having the hard conversations of like, you know, like, where do you want to live one day? Like, how are we going to make this or that work? And I'm like, well, I have to tell you, I'm very close to quitting my job and not having an income and having to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. And her response was, we'll make it work. Like, we're going to do this together. And so that was 6 months out from the business launching. So she got to see every side of this thing and got to, after we launched, I was waiting tables at Mission at night, like almost every day of the week, and doubles on Saturdays. So I was exhausted. The business had just launched, and we go out to dinner and I'm just dead broke. I can't afford to like buy dinners for her. So a lot of cooking in. But we're out to dinner, and there's this place I really liked in Noma that I wanted to show her, and it just wasn't up to par that night, and it wasn't that good. I'm like, I hyped this up so much, it's not that good, and now I have to pay like $40 I really don't have to pay for this dinner, and I just start breaking down crying at the table. And it was just like a great, we laugh at that moment now and like can reminisce on it, but in the moment, like, it was just the perfect example of like how hard that time frame was and like how much was going on. But God is good, and it's come a long way since. But
yeah,
she's been with me through it all. She's definitely so supportive and a good ear to like listen, especially early on when it was just me. First year and a half, I just worked out of my bedroom, so I didn't have anyone to talk to except her. And it got to a point where it's like, can we talk about something other than Connect? I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Wow, I didn't know about the dinner breakdown lore.
There were a few cries in there, but that was the main one.
But yeah, that, I mean, just means you're a very like well-intentioned, vulnerable person, which I think is very important. So moving the timeline forward a bit, when did you realize like that Connect was something? It was going somewhere.
Yeah, there are like a few that stick out. The first one was actually before launch. So we did a few pre-launch parties of, we're going to invite our close friends, have them get an inside look at the app once the beta version was done, and test it out, get the kinks out of it so we can launch the full version. And so we did that, and I was just like trying to get some press coverage. Like the digital like press staffer in me was like, how do we get media around this? And so I invited Jim Saxa, who does Heard on the Hill for Roll Call. And I had gotten a coffee with him beforehand. I'm like, hey, like, I think you should come to this event and like do a feature on Connect and the start of Connect. And so he came, and it ended up being like a what was it called when your picture's on the front of it, like a top story, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. My brain is
like
mush.
Front page. Feature.
Yeah, front page. Yeah. So like I'm on my way to work one day, and my phone is blowing up with like notifications of people subscribing to our newsletter or like our updates. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm not doing any marketing yet. I get into the office, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if the roll call article came out. And silly me, like they had asked me to do like a photo shoot beforehand. That didn't mean anything in my mind. So I like open up the stack of newspapers when you walk into the Hill office, and I open up Roll Call, and my face is just on the front of it. I'm like, oh, this is weird. But like that was a moment where we had so much flooding of attention, like people subscribing to just our updates at that point. I'm like, okay, this is resonating with people. So that was super cool. Next was definitely Staffer Spotlight, where when I started the business, I'm like, we don't need another newsletter. This is an app. no one needs another newsletter in this town. There's plenty of people doing that. But so many people were subscribing to that, and we were sending out marketing emails, and it was just getting a ton of reactions. So I'm like, okay, I guess we'll do a newsletter. And so started to get a lot of attention there. And then we started launching Staffer Spotlight as like our second full newsletter. And it was just like features of staffers telling about their story. And that just like led to so much engagement on our platform in the newsletter. And I would hear people talk around like, oh, like I was on Staffer Spotlight and so many people reached out to me afterwards. And that's where I first realized that we had this like little network effect on the hill of people were really engaging with our stuff. And before that, I was just some kid in my bedroom, like typing up a newsletter that I didn't know if anyone actually read. Yeah. So that was a really cool thing to see how it actually resonated.
Very cool. And I know Staffer Spotlight is like still something to this day. I don't really think the format has changed much, and it still gets like really great engagement and makes a difference for people. So I'm glad that has stuck around.
Yeah.
So obviously DC is a town full of like a lot of ideas and a lot of like startups. So especially for a startup as niche as Connect, you know, there are bound to be challenges. So what were some of those early challenges that you had?
Money. Always money. From a personal perspective and a business perspective. So I quit my job on the hill. I basically poured all the money that I'd saved into Connect, now just blowing up my credit cards. So I didn't really have any money. So I couldn't pay myself out of the business. So I had to wait tables, did that for the first year and a half of the business too. And that was just such a grind. But met a lot of cool people working at Mission too. And so it has a special place in my heart. But on the business side, I was always trying to figure out like how we can afford to pay for our MailChimp subscription next month, or how to build new features for the app. And so my thought process was like try to get funding, because every startup book I read talked about getting pre-seed funding or seed funding and all that. And so that was kind of where my mind was. That wasn't in line for me. Like we took a little friends and family round that really saved our butts in September of 2021 or 2022, like 6 months into the business when we were just out of money and there was stuff we were trying to do. And it was like that pivotal moment of, if I don't get, it was $6,000. If I don't get $6,000 in the door by Friday, the business is over. And so I was like praying like crazy. Nothing was coming through. And then Friday morning, I got a call from someone who hadn't been responding to any of my emails. And I was like, how much money do you need? I'm like, $6,000. He's like, I'll Zelle it over right now. Wow. And I'm just like, oh, that day was so special in my heart. It's a Friday miracle. That's how Selby and I refer to it. But we've had a few of those days since that, like, there's no reason why we should still be in business, but like something came through at the last moment. And so, yeah, money was always kind of the thing. And luckily, like, we're in a place where that's like stable now, finally. Like, usually know where my paycheck's coming from. Not always, but even like last year, there were a few times where it was like, okay, I gotta wait to pay myself and stuff like that. And that's always been the main theme of where's the money going to come from? And it's always worked out. We're still here 3 years later. So that was the biggest struggle. And then just like technology is hard too, because it's so expensive and so wonky, and American development is extremely expensive, and we can't afford it, or can't afford an in-house coder. So we've always had to get creative on that kind of stuff, but it's worked out. And I apologize to all the people that are like, why don't you have new features in the app? Like, they're coming, we're figuring that stuff out, but like that's always been a grind to figure out how to find enough money to get that stuff done.
Yeah, and talking about like, instead of like challenges from early on in the business, let's talk about just like the past year, more recent history. What has that looked like, and what have been some recent challenges you've noticed?
Yeah.
And how do you want to expand?
Yeah.
What's ahead?
Fair enough. At the end of 2023, I was sitting having wine with my wife and my mom over Christmas break, and they were trying to convince me, like, you need to stop putting money into the app and focus on hiring people and like build out the newsletter. Because at that time, the app was doing fine, but the newsletter was just growing like crazy. And I was trying to write all that content and having part-time people help as well. And this is something they had been saying for months, but I was not willing to accept it. I'm like, I put all this money into the app, like I'm going to force this app upon people. And eventually my heart was softened, and I realized, okay, like 2024, I'm going to focus on newsletters. So that week just came up with new content that we were going to launch the next week when the new year started. And that's how we came up with District Discoveries, with the events newsletter, and with Capital Pulse. So that's what came out of all of that. And so then 3 months later, we hire you, and we start to like build out a team and like reallocate resources. And so that's when things really started to go. And
it's been perfect ever since I joined.
Yeah. He's the reason why we're here today, guys. But no, like you having that kind of like help and the strengths for the newsletter to write and to create the podcast and produce, that has helped us get here. And so taking that shift, being willing to stop being hard-headed for one moment and to realize like maybe we got to go in a different direction. It's like all the data told me like this is where I'm supposed to go, but I was just unwilling to do it. So once that changed, that's where we really started to get our traction. Like a little bit of an inside note, but when we started in January 2024 with the new newsletters, we were getting like 11 to 12,000 impressions a week. And that was huge. Like that was the most we'd ever done. By the end of last year, we were consistently doing 26 to 27,000. So we doubled our weekly impressions easily and grew our audience by thousands of subscribers. And that was just that validation of like, okay, we're on the right track. And now, since we've solidified that world, now we can start to look back and think about being creative from a technology perspective, and spending a lot of time these days redesigning our app and figuring out how to like make it better moving forward. And so the future is really just focused on like better technology, definitely a better job board, better experience with events. There's some new features I'm not willing to talk about yet that are going to be very cool. As a founder, I'm very, very paranoid about talking about new features before I've like built them and they're out into the world, because I'm like, what if someone steals my idea?
It's fair concern.
Yeah, but we have some cool things that will like increase transparency when you're trying to find jobs. We'll have a lot better experience when you're trying to connect with people or recommendations for coffees or for connections. So the future is like really taking over this political network and trying to create a true like political community here in DC for people who are on the Hill or people who are trying to get on the Hill or work in lobbying or PR or whatever it is. Like we just want to be the spot for people in politics.
Cool. It's a nice little preview for everyone. And obviously, Connect has evolved so much over these past few years. But as it stands today, how would you define Connect in just a few words?
Focus on community and professional development. We really want to focus on investing in that next generation of political leaders. So we have readers from intern, staff assistant, up to chief of staff, professional staff members, and pretty consistent readership across those different like seniority levels. But we really want to focus on those people who are younger on the Hill, who have a lot of upside, who are still very excited about being in this town and like what they can become here. And so we want to invest in them and give them the resources to make this place feel like home, to feel like they have community, to feel fulfilled. It's hard to say. And then also like give them the professional resources to just make their life easier and to help them grow here.
And what are some misconceptions or misunderstandings that people usually have about Connect or CNCT?
It's pronounced Connect.
It's pronounced Connect.
It's not CNCT.
Yeah.
Fun little side story there. DC is the town of acronyms. I was telling our new lovely interns this morning, everyone here thinks in acronyms, right?
Yes.
The DOT, the DEA, the FBI, whatever. But like my mindset was in Silicon Valley, like startups, that world. And everyone's missing a letter, or a letter's different there, or there's no vowels or whatever. So in my mind, it made perfect sense. So when I went out to Silicon Valley, we got invited to something called TechCrunch Disrupt. We're in their startup battlefield. So went out to San Francisco, and was like presenting and everything. And we had a banner up that had CNCT or Connect. And everyone there would go look at it and go, oh, Connect, that's cool. Nobody thought it was CNCT. And so everyone here thinks it's CNCT, but it's okay. I might just be an idiot. Like maybe I'm wrong and I shouldn't have named something that looks like an acronym in this town.
Yeah.
So that's on me. But that's one. Another misconception off the bat was I always sold this as professional networking, social networking, the whole roll call story, all about that. But early on, everyone's like, oh, like, did you hear about the new like dating app? And I'm like, guys, where did you see this? Why does anyone think this is a dating app? But, you know, young professionals will turn anything into a dating app. So
those coffees.
Yeah,
coffee
yeah, networking coffee, you know.
Right.
But so those were the main misconceptions. But I feel like since then we've really just honed like why we're here, and people know who we are now, which is super cool. So it's taken a long time, but it's cool to see that validation.
Very cool. If I've thought about this so much. If I had to make an acronym for Connect, I kind of like thought about it: Congressional Networking Community Technologies.
Okay. Or like connecting new congressional folks. Or no, it's not F.
Folks. Don't even know your own company.
What's T? I don't know, something. But, you know,
Yeah.
The best one we got, though, was Canadian National Convention. And they're like, what's the T stand for?
That was like someone actually thought that, right?
Yeah, I think that was a legit question. So,
yeah,
hey.
I think I like blocked that out of my memory. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, you know, your brain tries to find meaning in things. So,
yeah.
Or, yeah, it's F, folks.
Folks.
Gotta change our name.
So when things get tough in the business, what motivates you? What keeps you going?
I think faith foremost. Like, I wouldn't be here today without my faith, and that is the only thing I can fall back on, because I know I'm not here on my own. All the times where this thing should have failed, I wouldn't be here without it. So I like have that trust that like God's gonna take care of these things, no matter how big or small they feel. Like, it's gonna work out. But the other side of it is just like not taking it too seriously and just knowing everything's going to be okay. But really just having a life outside of work too. Like, I don't know, I became a father recently, and that really puts things in perspective of, if the business fails, who cares? You know, like, I'll get called to something else. It'll be fine. Like, what really matters is my family and my faith. So the other side of it too is I have things that I want to do after Connect that really like motivate me and keep me focused on like trying to figure it out. And they range in different expenses, but like, I want to live in Colorado really bad. Like, I want to live out in the mountains and be away from society. But so like, I want to have like a house in Breckenridge in the mountains or something like that. And so like, that's something that motivates me. I really care about giving. Like, I plan to donate most of the money that I make from Connect to different, I call them godly endeavors, just like whatever I feel called to do with that. So that's definitely something that motivates me from the start. And it's really changed my perspective on money and like why I'm doing this. The other one is like, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, I'm a huge Pittsburgh sports fan. I love the Pittsburgh Pirates with all of my heart. I've devoted 23 years to them. It's the most toxic relationship by far in my life. And I'm like, maybe I can make this thing worth billions of dollars so one day I can buy the Pirates and end this misery. So that's another one of them, is like the crazy dreams. Like, maybe one day I'll be able to buy the Pirates and
I didn't know about that ulterior motive.
Give people in Pittsburgh a happy life again.
Yeah. Interesting. I have some family in Pittsburgh, and I don't even think that they like the Pirates. So
only the real fans are still around.
Yeah. They might be Steelers fans, but I don't know about all that.
That's a whole different tangent.
Sports stuff. I don't know.
Sports ball.
Sports ball, yeah, you know. So I guess this is a really good transition over to the personal side. So just tell us a little bit about what you like to do in your free time when you have that free time.
Well, we can give a pre-having a baby and a post-having a baby thing, but I really like different things. I can get obsessive about different things outside of work, but coffee, cooking, gardening, baseball, football, Pittsburgh sports, theology, history, audiobooks. Those are kind of my main things. I really like going down ChatGPT rabbit holes of like, I want to learn more about something. So I'm just going to keep asking questions and see where this takes me. I like when I read and like history stuff, I like some good like conspiracy theory stuff in there too. So especially like JFK stuff. So that's always fun.
Yeah. I love my JFK history as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when I was bringing my personal laptop, you probably saw I had like JFK stickers all over it.
For sure.
And people are always like, what the heck is your deal with JFK? I'm like, I just love JFK history. What is like something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Oof. This isn't in the notes. I don't know.
It's actually right there.
Oh, geez. I guess I didn't read well enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like I really do like to have different things that I care about outside of work, and whether that is like cooking. I like to say that my wife is very lucky because I do all the cooking, and like I was out of town for a few days recently, and so she had to cook for herself, and she said it's not as good when I make it as when you make it, and that was like that meant something special to me. So I really care about that. I really like just being around my wife and now my daughter Luna. Like that's what really matters. And so doing stuff at home, like I love a good Saturday morning, wake up, take care of Luna because that's what comes first always now. Mm-hmm. But Saturdays are also bagel days. So go to Bethesda Bagels, get some bagels.
Yeah.
But then love making like either cappuccinos or lattes for me and Selby. And then we just like have good conversations and just hang out and start our Saturday well. That's important to me.
Nice. I think something I was surprised to learn about you, and something that really like, I don't know, I was interested to know more about, is that you were a film major originally. And I came in to connect, and I was like, I really love film as well. I came in, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about films with David, blah, blah, blah. And we're just like on completely opposite sides of like film major stuff.
Yeah.
Like you were like, yeah, you know Goodfellas? And I was like, no. Do you know David Lynch? And you're like, no.
Yeah, so, we'd be really good at mixing all of our stuff. Yeah. Also, this is another thing about me right now, which I meant to actually talk to you about this. Have you watched The Studio?
I really want to. I've heard really good things.
So as someone who's consumed so much TV in my life and a lot of movies, this is the best single season of television I've ever watched. And so it's like a film nerd's dream of very inside baseball in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But the cinematography is great. The whole vibe is just so well done. The way they dress, the set design, and the humor is just so freaking hilarious.
It's Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen, yeah.
Okay. I've heard a lot of good things. And Apple TV has been like popping off recently.
Sure.
They got Severance and all that stuff. Yeah. So I need to catch up.
I thought good TV was dead. Like, it's here and there where good TV happens these days, but I always like Seth Rogen too, like kind of that like stoner funny dude type of thing. But this is just on a whole different level of like so witty and just so well done. Every episode kind of has like a different theme to like a noir or
interesting.
So they go in a lot of different directions, but it's amazing.
Very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
Add that one to my list. Do you have any other like movie, TV show recs for people?
My favorite movie is Apocalypse Now, for sure.
Okay.
I like the director's cut because it gives a little extra like information about the movie. I love Stanley Kubrick though too. My favorite movie growing up was Tropic Thunder, which more in the comedy direction.
Yeah.
But I think Tom Cruise, just a masterpiece for him in there. So I have a lot of different like interests. I can go super grungy and like dark or weird, and then super just like stupid and funny too. So all over the place.
I feel like with anyone who loves film, there's kind of like two sides. Like I don't know. For me, it's like I love the really out there horror movies, but I also love like coming of age and like the drama.
For sure. That's what's great about it. There's so many different stories to tell. Yeah. And the other one is I did my college like thesis or whatever on Quentin Tarantino and his like auteur style.
Cool.
And since then, Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just two amazing movies. So
we both did our thesis on auteur studies.
There you go.
No way. I didn't know that about you.
We got something in common.
Wow, we're connecting. Connect. Wow, it's all coming together.
Yeah, just like that. It's not like we've worked together for 14 months.
I promise we talk off camera. Okay. And kind of like, I don't know, working off this media angle, what is like a book or idea or quote would you say that like has helped you shape your business or personal life?
Yeah, I'll start with like my JFK fascinations first. The Devil's Chessboard, it is a thick freaking book, but it's about the Dulles brothers and their time heading the CIA and the State Department. Fascinating, highly recommend. The MK Ultra stuff and then going into JFK, just great content. But on the business side of things, I don't have the book here right now. It's usually right here. But 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel was like the first startup book I ever read. And it just really kind of like got the juices flowing. I used to live in Navy Yard, and my walk to the hill, I would just be head down, like reading the book on the way to and from work. So that's also how I got work in outside of work, was just reading on my walk and trying not to get hit by cars. But that was like the one that just shaped like my viewpoints on how to create a business. And my mindset had been like, when I was building out the idea for Connect, like, let's start with all of DC. And like in my mind, I thought that was small. But after reading that, it really talked about like focusing on a niche audience that you understand very well as the audience you start with for your business. And so that was definitely the thing like shaped my mindset going forward with Connect the most, was the hill is what I understand. It's what I want to fix. And so let's start there and we can build out later. So that was really important in my development of Connect and got me thinking in the same way as I should be. And like we've seen success because of that, because I understood the staffer life well, it helps me to create content that resonated with our audience. And so that's what works for us still to this day.
Cool. And I guess I have 2 final questions to sort of
You're acting like me, you know. You ask final question and then you ask another question afterwards.
It's like trademark for this podcast, I think. But they're both very general questions. So first, what if you had only one thing to say to people about Connect, what do you want them to know about the business?
I want to help people like figure out a different way to look at politics. Our political culture can be very toxic at times, focused around negativity or name calling or not true discussion. Like, I really want to get back to the idea of like Congress as a deliberative body, something where we debate, we disagree, but don't disrespect each other, and really figure out a way to just hash out ideas again. I think that's kind of what we're missing on the Hill. We're not willing to, and this isn't everybody, there's a lot of great people out there, but like we're not always willing to have discussions, like hard discussions with people across the aisle. And so I'd really like to see that happen. And so I just want to invest in people's mindsets of like, people in this town are all here trying to do the best they can. Let's collaborate, let's disagree, but let's figure out a different way to disagree.
Gotcha. And kind of the same question, but more about you. What is one thing you want people to know about you that you didn't really mention yet?
I don't know. I think like faith is just the most important thing to me in my life. And that was like the catalyst when I moved to DC, that when I moved here, I decided to start taking that stuff more seriously. It was a long journey to get to a point where I was actually like doing it the right way. But that community here in DC is so important to me. It's where all my best friends are at this point. And now there's like 6 of us all having daughters right now. So it works really well to have a good community too. But like, I just love being around my family. And I'd say like, I love parenthood. It's extremely hard. And there are times where I'm like, I hate parenthood. But it's just like, it's so tiring, but it's so rewarding. And when you think about like, okay, if we didn't have kids, I'm building Connect and that's great. But like, what does that do for me in Selby, you know? Mm-hmm. And so like understanding how important Luna is to my family, and like, just, it's so rewarding to see her grow. It's a very fun new side. So I'm enjoying it.
Nice. That's really sweet. All right. I think that's all the questions. So this was really fun. Thank you for sharing about you and the Connect story and everything. I had such a fun time being on the camera for once. This was really great.
You did a great job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. It means a lot to me as the behind the scenes guy. And David, again, thanks for sharing the Connect story with our audience.
Thank you, guys. Peace. Thank you for tuning into Capital Spotlight Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe to our channels to stay updated on new releases, share the show with your friends, and rate the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. For more from Connect, subscribe to our daily newsletters, follow us on social media, and check out our website, all at Capital Connect, capital with an O, CNCT. See you next time.